please, because that right there is going to touch on something else. And Jay, please hold on to that question.
Sure.
Master teacher, before we get into this, can you please tell the world how you became who you became? Because you're so well respected in the community, and like your knowledge is amazing. Now you're about to touch, like, answer her question. I want to hear it, but
I can wait. It's a different.
People want to know, how did Kaba Hiawatha Kamene turn into this man? Because like we talk on the phone. From now on, you master teacher. That's straight up and down. I'm gonna call you master teacher. But we want to know how you got started and your journey of how you got to where you are right now.
And please correct us, Professor, if we're not saying that last name just right.
Oh, you can call me. You call me Brother Kaba. You know, I go by Brother Kaba. Last name is Kamene.
Kamene. Okay.
Okay. But I go by Brother Kaba because to me, the highest form of respect. I don't care, you doctor, reverend, minister, Umar. It don't make a difference where you are. The highest form of, to me, the highest form of respect that I could pay another human is to consider them my brother or sister.
Right.
That's the highest accolade that you could give somebody. Because I've seen people don't have a doctor, they don't have a reverend, they don't have minister, they don't have iman, they have no title, but they're human beings, and they deserve recognition for that.
Yes.
And addressing it as brother is the highest form. People call me doctor. I don't have a doctorate. I have 2 master's degrees, one in history and one in education supervision and administration. But when I was in New York, that's why I was listening to you earlier, Jay, saying that you were on the subway station in New York on Friday.
Yes.
I used to go to 125th Street, and I would talk on the corner. I would teach on the corner.
Really?
Near the Teresa Hotel. Back in the day, they did this for years. They did this for centuries. I said one day, I think I'm gonna come in and just gonna stand on the corner of 120. Where Nelson Mandela was when he came to speak in New York, that's the corner that I used to speak on.
Yes, I heard about that.
Where they set that up in the 90s for him to speak. David Dinkins was the mayor and everybody, and they had Nelson Mandela speak. That corner was where African scholars used to go out there and preach. They used to get up on a ladder. If you saw Spike Lee's movie, Malcolm X, there's a scene where you have all, everybody's on the street talking to the people. There's people up on ladders. There's people. Well, that's what I used to do. I used to just go and talk. In fact, you could go to YouTube and you can see me talking on 125th Street, right across the street from the Apollo Theater.
Okay.
So my thing was to go out into the street and talk to the people. And that's where I got the name Doctor from. Because people say, oh, there's Doctor. And that it first started as Dr. Booker T before I corrected my name in 2002. And they said, oh, there's Dr. Booker T. And then Dr. Booker T became Dr. Kaba. But I'll tell you this, that doctorate that the community's given me is the highest form of compliment I could receive. I'd rather have a doctorate from the community than the highest form of college. And so, titles don't mean anything to me. When people, like when I come on the show, people say, how can I introduce you? I say, introduce me as teacher, and then let me prove everything that you were going to say. Because a lot of people get up and they have this long resume, but then at the end of their presentation, you wonder, what did they say? So I believe that judging me by my work, judge me by my presentation. And, my brother Fu, the question that you ask comes from a deep dedication. It comes from a time that I don't know any better. I've always been on this track. I was born Booker T. My junior, father was Booker T. Senior. He was born and raised in Alabama. Came to New York when he was in his 20s, and belonged to the Mother AME Zion Church, whose pastor was Reverend Benjamin Robeson, brother to Paul Robeson. So I grew up in an environment, and mind you, I was born 2 years before Emmett Till was murdered. So I was, when I was born into this movement that was rising. I was born in a project down in New York. Sister, you may know, across from Lincoln Center, there's a project known as the Amsterdam Projects.
I know it.
That's where I was born and raised. 63rd
Wow.
and
Wow.
Amsterdam Avenue. That's where I was born and raised. And I spent 15 years in those projects before we moved. And that was where I grew. And that's where I became conscious of the world around me. And because of my deep consciousness, but let me tell you this, because in the community where I grew up in, there were many people's Spanish-speaking descent, particularly from Puerto Rico. And because of that, hanging out with my friends and going to Jose's house or Juan or Rosa, wherever I was going, you know, I was immersed in the Spanish-speaking culture as part of my understanding of who I was as an African American. And I had a friend whose family practiced Santeria, which is the African form of the Spanish-speaking form of the Orishas of the Yoruba.
Wow.
The French is Voodoo, the Portuguese is Candomblé, and whether pastors want to admit it or not, the Baptist Church is straight up out of Africa. So don't even try to make believe that, you know, your call and response didn't come from Africa. Okay, that dance by the pulpit, you know, that's Africa. You know, we can go back. You know, this is what it was. But in going to these activities, grew up Roman Catholic. I was a choir boy, altar boy.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's me.
Oh, wow.